Hello, you are watching a replay of the talk about how much does it really cost to import goods to New Zealand and 3 common mistakes all importers make. My name is Max and sitting next to me is Alex. I'm personally a freight forwarder and Alex is the customs broker. Say hello, Alex.
Good afternoon.
So, I think we should wait for at least couple of people to join us. Did you share the group?
Yeah, I'm just sharing it and I'm going to share it in the group as well.
Maybe you can share it in the personal profile as well.
Yeah. Done.
So I'll briefly tell about me and Alex. We have a combined experience of about 25 years and
Experience in what?
in freight forwarding, obviously. And most of our clients, they ask how much does it cost to import? And this is a very tricky question because there are a lot of things involved. And it depends on obviously what you're trying to import. For example, if you are planning to import a container from China, it also depends how big is the container and what kind of services you require. Hello, yeah? Oh, we've got 3 people joining in. I think we should wait for a bit more. Say hi if you are watching to this live tutorial talk. Maybe you can type which city are you from. Alright, otherwise I'll continue. So, as I said, most of the clients import, hello, yeah? Most of the clients, they import goods from China because it's cheaper, closer and faster. Well, Australia could be another option, but possibly 80% of the clients, they import from China. And if, for example, you want to import 1 pallet of general cargo, could be building materials, appliances, or clothing, that's, for example, if it's 1 standard pallet, which is about 1 cubic meter, I don't know, maybe 300 kilos, I suggest to allow at least 600 New Zealand dollars, maybe between 500 to 700 New Zealand dollars, depends on your specific situation. And that includes the ocean freight from main port in China to any main port in New Zealand. That could be Auckland, Christchurch, Wellington. And then it also covers your things like customs clearance, documentation, and trucking within the city.
Customs charges will be on top of that.
Yeah, absolutely. So you have to obviously talk to any customs broker in New Zealand who will tell you what are the customs fees, how much do you have to pay, what kind of documents you need. So that's one scenario. And if you say import a 20-foot container which will fit anywhere between 25 to 30 cubic meters, and once again you want a price to send it from main port in China, so it doesn't include any fees in China, it doesn't include any pickup from the supplier, from the factory, it does not include any export clearance or local charges in China, which is normally advised to be arranged by the supplier in China because it's cheaper and more cost effective. So if you send 1 20-foot container, standard 20-foot container, once again it's standard commodity, building materials, could be clothing, furniture, appliances, I would allow anywhere between $2,000 to $2,500 New Zealand dollars plus GST. That includes ocean freight from the main port in China to to any main port in New Zealand. I see we've got, I'll just wait for a minute and maybe ask some people to say where are you from, or do you import any goods? Just type on your, I don't know, phone, or where are you listening or watching to us? Are you watching us on the computer? Say hi.
And Maxim did mention what we planned here today is he's going to talk maybe for 5-10 minutes about the main topics, and meanwhile everyone can ask the questions, and we will do a Q&A at the end for another maybe 10 minutes. Is that right?
Hello, Nigel. Yes, that's correct, Alex. So I'll try to keep it brief, and if you have any questions, feel free to type them in the chat, and we will try to answer if it's straightforward. So, to sum up, one pallet imported from China, standard pallet would be roughly $500 to $700 plus GST, and one 20-foot container between $2,000 to $2,500 plus GST. That includes ocean freight to the from the main port in China to the main port in New Zealand, customs clearance in New Zealand. Obviously, all the government fees are on top, taxes are on top, and that includes delivery to your door in New Zealand. Obviously, any specific requirements will be discussed personally. Right, so I think we should move to the 3 common mistakes that all importers make. I think the first common mistake, what would be, Alex? The first common mistakes?
As a customs broker, I always see that the biggest, I would say the most frequent error every importer, new or experienced one, make is they supply the documents to us way too late before the arrival of the goods. And these days, yeah, most of the things computerized with customs, but customs are going through a major amendments in their procedures. So some simple things like customs clearance or supplying of the documents might take up to 7 to 10 days. So that would be the biggest mistake for customs, is that the documents are supplied. The people do not allow enough time to supply the documents for the customs clearance, and which result in the goods being held in warehouses at the port, and it all comes up to a big storage fees, and you will be charged by shipping line, by warehouse, by the port authority, and you don't want that cost on top of your
Exactly.
on top of your goods.
So Nigel is asking, when would you like the documents?
So ideally, 7 to 10 days before the vessel arrival. And if we do organize freight for example, for our clients, we have the documents way before. So pretty much our agents in overseas, they do arrange the documents for us. So we know exactly what it is and how to clear it, like the minute is actually loaded on for export in the different country, and and for the people who actually come to us just for customs clearance, there would be the standard would be 7 to 10 days before the goods arrival to New Zealand.
All right. So the second mistake that people make is that they do not talk to the supplier and do not give them proper instructions how to package the goods. It happens way too common that people receive torn cartons, damaged items, or some of the goods arrive without any labels and shipping marks. That could, first of all, delay your shipment because some of the items could be lost. And secondly, your cargo can be damaged, which is obviously the worst thing that anyone would want. So a very simple but very rare advice is that not many people actually do this. You should get a photo. Alex, can you just make a note of the questions so we don't forget? On Facebook, people ask questions. I'll come back to the questions. I'll just finish my thought. So many people forget to give instructions to the supplier how to package the goods. So the easiest way to do this is to get a photo of the goods so you can view it yourself and see how it's packaged. And secondly, you can forward it to your freight forwarder and verify is it sufficient enough. And yeah, make sure you don't have any problems with the insurance if something does happen. Was there any questions?
Yeah, there's a few questions from Nigel. So basically he's asking about what documents will we require as the customs brokers. We do require bill of lading, a copy of bill of lading. Everything is, we only need copies, no originals required for us to clear the goods, and a copy of commercial invoice. There's a number of other documents which might be requested by different authorities in New Zealand, and it also depends on type of cargo. For example, for medicine or for foodstuff or for dangerous goods, there's different types of documents, extra documents required, but for general cargo, yes, it's just bill of lading and invoice. And we usually ask for a couple more questions, things like how much did you pay for freight if we didn't organize it, and origin, some other questions to help us to properly identify the goods and to claim the right amount of GST and duty which you have to pay to New Zealand Customs. And also, Yana is asking, how can customer ensure or check that the customs clearance has gone through the port? And I assume that she's talking about the full containers. Pretty much every port has a website, and you can go and track container there. And if your customs broker tells you that he has cleared that container for export, then you can go to that website and enter this container number, and they will give you all the information for export or import. And it will usually have it's slightly different procedure for export or for import, but generally it's very easy to understand that it's actually been cleared and can be uplifted or can be loaded for export. So yeah, so go to the port's website, like for pol.co.nz, that's the most common for ports of Auckland, and track there.
Good.
Yeah.
Last but not least, mistake that I'd like to mention to all importers, even some experienced importers do this, and it's not a mistake as much, but I think it's a lost opportunity to reduce your costs and get control of your shipment. So the mistake is that you rely on the supplier to arrange the shipping to New Zealand. And if you think about it, you ask someone to send the goods to New Zealand to you, and then you just wait and see how it's going to turn out in New Zealand, which is, I don't think, the best way to do it, because I would personally at least talk to a New Zealand company and then compare what are the total costs and what documents are required, what's going to be the procedure, because otherwise you're going to be just blind.
Yeah, well, fair to say that if you're importing something small or a one-off item, then probably is a good way of letting the overseas supplier to look after the shipping. But if you're a regular importer or you're importing something bigger than a small parcel, then you definitely need to pay attention what Maxim is going to say.
And in many cases you will save at least a couple of $100 and a lot of stress, and you're gonna avoid all the hassle if you control it yourself and you use a reliable company, and you're also protected by the New Zealand law, which is probably one of the most important things. Whether it's a consumer or if it's for business, you still have a better peace of mind.
New importers always do this mistake that they just wait and see for the goods to come up, and then you've been hit with a big bill on the arrival when the local company, freight forwarder, who is arranged by your overseas supplier, bill you for local charges, and these charges can be as high as $300-400 per cubic meter. And no one mentioned this. Usually, no one mentions these charges until they actually being billed to you, and so it's going to be a nasty surprise for when the goods arrive to New Zealand for you, because you never incorporate these costs into your business in your cost of the goods. So it's definitely worth talking to a freight forwarder, local freight forwarder, before arranging anything, to search advice on how much it's gonna cost to freight the goods, and then if you want, you can compare it to the cost which is provided by the supplier, and ask him a rightful question: how much local charges I am going to pay for these goods in New Zealand? Yeah, and you'll see that firstly, not many companies, overseas companies, can answer that question, because again, they don't have control of these charges. These charges controlled here by local freight forwarders who can charge whatever, because they never had a contact with you before. So they just have a contact with their counterparts in different parts of the world, and so their standard charge can be, for example, $200 per cubic meter, and you have to live with it, because if you want to get your goods, which already arrived and waiting for you at the warehouse, you have to pay.
100%. Nigel is asking, what's the cost to get you to arrange shipping over 20-foot high cube or 20-foot general purpose container? Nigel, it all depends on what's inside the container, what's the scope of the work. For example, once again, the easiest and the most cost-effective way for you is to buy goods based on shipping terms called FOB, free on board, meaning that you as a New Zealand importer only responsible for shipping from the main port in China to the main port in New Zealand, and also then obviously for the customs clearance in New Zealand, for the documentation in New Zealand, for the container tracking in New Zealand, and possibly container unloading if you don't have your own warehouse. So you should allow at least 2,500 New Zealand dollars plus GST. That's a minimum. And as a first-time importer,
GST on freight.
just in general, there is GST on New Zealand services, which you can claim back if you're obviously GST registered. For the first-time importers, you are more likely to be inspected by the government agencies such as MPI, Ministry for Primary Industries, or Customs. Any inspections, if happens, it's a random inspection, that could be an additional cost for you and for us to arrange it. So that's additional time required. In many cases, if they don't find anything restricted, it's going to be at least possibly 200 New Zealand dollars plus GST to arrange all the additional documents and then organize the actual inspection. So it's a physical inspection of the goods. Alright, I think we should wrap up unless you've got any questions. We do respect your time, and we thank you for your attention. Do you have any questions? I'll give you a minute. Otherwise, obviously, you can mention any question on Facebook.
Probably just tell, as a conclusion, tell a few words, general advice for importers nowadays. What do you think that's the best strategy to start if you want to import something to New Zealand?
I think the easiest way to think about it is the same way as you travel. If you're traveling to a new country from New Zealand, say to South America, that you've never been before, what are you going to do? You're going to talk to someone that's been there and done that. You're going to ask them what's required, what kind of documents are required to get the visas, permits, and all the rest of it. So that's the same thing for the goods. You have to talk to someone that's done it and be prepared. Did Nigel ask any questions?
Yeah, he said that, are you saying to get the supplier to arrange shipping to New Zealand? Well, we're actually saying quite an opposite. So we're saying you need to talk to a local freight forwarder and arrange it if you want. You arrange the freight yourself with the local freight forwarder. Then you can hold this freight forwarder, local freight forwarder, which you have a contract with, responsible for the money they charge you.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't have to hold ransom for some unknown charges which you never agreed to pay at the first place.
All right. So if you enjoyed the content, please subscribe to our page, and then we'll keep you posted. Most likely we'll do the same thing again on Thursday next week. If you have any questions,
We also have
feel
a
free to
very
ask
useful
us.
blog on our website, easyfreight.co.nz. So there's a blog section in there, and there's, I don't know, about 30 or 40 really good, interesting articles specifically about New Zealand importing and exporting, with numerous topics. So yeah, it's quite interesting reading, and good to have you. See you next time.
all right. Thank you, everyone that listened to us and asked questions, and we'll see you again. Thank you.